My name is Chloe. I'm 32 years old and a single mom to my wonderful 8-year-old son, Noah. For months, I planned his dinosaur-themed birthday party. I saved every extra penny to make it perfect. My relationship with my sister, Audrey, has always been difficult. But I never imagined she would throw my son's birthday cake in the trash. What was supposed to be a happy day for Noah became a nightmare. It would ultimately change our family forever. If you're watching this, please drop a comment and let me know where you're from. And please hit that like and subscribe button while I share how standing up for my son put my sister's dream wedding at risk. Life as a single mother has never been easy. I got pregnant with Noah when I was 24. I was fresh out of college and just starting my career in graphic design. His father disappeared quickly when I told him the news. It was just Noah and me against the world from the very beginning. Even with the challenges, I built a stable life for us. We have a small but cozy 2-bedroom apartment. I work from home for a marketing firm. This gives me the flexibility to be there for Noah when he needs me. And he does need me, maybe more than other children need their parents. When Noah was 4, he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. It explained so much about his behavior. It explained his sensitivity to loud noises, his trouble with change, and his intense focus on dinosaurs. It also explained his challenges in social situations. The diagnosis was a relief, but it was also a new mountain for us to climb. I learned everything I could. I found therapists. I adjusted our lives to help Noah thrive in his own unique way. My family's reaction to Noah's diagnosis was mixed. My parents, Margaret and Thomas, seemed almost embarrassed. They would say things like, "He'll grow out of it," or, "Maybe he just needs more discipline." They never tried to understand autism. They never came to any of the family education sessions his therapists offered. Then there was my sister, Audrey. She's 2 years younger than me, but she was light years ahead in our parents' eyes. Audrey had done everything right. She graduated with honors. She got a high-paying job in finance. She was now engaged to James. His family owned a chain of luxury hotels. Their wedding was scheduled for next weekend at Pinewood Gardens, an exclusive venue with a 6-month waiting list. Growing up, Audrey was always the golden child. I was creative and free-spirited. She was organized and focused on achievement. Our parents praised her perfect grades and traditional success. They looked at my artistic interests with disappointment. This dynamic only got worse after Noah was born. Audrey never hid her discomfort around Noah. She would cringe when he flapped his hands in excitement. She would scowl when he covered his ears during loud family gatherings. She called his dinosaur collection an obsession, not a passion. Her comments were always subtle. If I confronted her, it would make me seem too sensitive. "Does he have to bring that dinosaur toy to Thanksgiving dinner?" she would ask. Or, "Have you considered that special school across town? I hear they handle children with issues." Each comment was a small sting. I swallowed my anger to keep the peace in the family. Our parents always took Audrey's side anyway. They would remind me that she just wanted what was best for Noah. Even with the family tension, Noah had been making wonderful progress. This year, he joined a regular classroom with support. He made a few friends who accepted him for who he was. When he asked if he could have a real birthday party with his friends from school, my heart almost burst with joy. It was the first time he had ever shown interest in a social event. I spent 3 months planning every detail of his dinosaur-themed 8th birthday party. I took on extra freelance projects to afford it. I rented a small event room at the Pinewood Community Center. It was the more affordable part of the same venue, where Audrey was getting married. I ordered custom invitations with dinosaurs that matched his favorite book. I found sensory-friendly party games that all the children could enjoy. Most importantly, I ordered a special cake from the best bakery in town. It was a 3-dimensional Triceratops, Noah's favorite dinosaur. It cost almost $200. That was more than I had ever spent on a cake. But the look on Noah's face when I showed him the design made every penny worth it. The night before the party, Noah could hardly sleep. He kept asking to see pictures of the cake on my phone. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Will my friends like dinosaurs, too, Mom?" he asked nervously. "Even if they don't love dinosaurs as much as you do, they'll have fun because you're their friend." I told him. He nodded seriously. I will share my dinosaur knowledge, but not talk about it too much. Miss Peterson says I need to let others talk. Too. I hugged him tightly. I was so proud of how hard he was working to understand a social world that didn't always make sense to him. As I tucked him in, I had no idea that our family problems were about to explode in a way that would change everything. The morning of the party was bright and sunny. Noah woke up early. He was already wearing the dinosaur shirt he had laid out the night before. His cheeks were flushed with excitement as he helped me load decorations into the car. Today will be perfect, he said with certainty. I smiled and silently prayed he was right. We got to the Pinewood Community Center 2 hours early to set everything up. The event coordinator, Linda, helped us bring in the boxes of decorations. She seemed genuinely touched by my attention to detail and Noah's excitement. Most kids just want the latest superhero theme, she said as we hung the hand-painted dinosaur banners I had made. It's nice to see something so personal. Noah was carefully arranging plastic dinosaurs on each table. He made sure they were positioned just right. The herbivores and carnivores need to be separated, he explained seriously to Linda. She nodded with equal seriousness. By 11:30, everything was ready. The room was a prehistoric wonderland. There were volcanoes made from painted cardboard boxes. Vines hung from the ceiling. There was a fossil dig sandbox in the corner. I had set up a quiet corner with headphones and dinosaur books. It was in case Noah, or any other children, needed a break from the noise. The cake was scheduled to arrive at noon, 30 minutes before the party started. When the bakery van pulled up, the Noah bounced on his toes with excitement. The baker carefully brought in the masterpiece. It was a stunning triceratops cake with detailed fondant scales and gentle eyes. It somehow captured the friendly nature Noah always saw in his favorite dinosaur. It's perfect, Noah whispered. He clasped his hands tightly to keep from touching it. The cake was placed in the venue's refrigerator until it was time to eat. Linda promised she would personally watch over it. At 100, the children started to arrive with their parents. Noah greeted each one with a welcome we had practiced. He only occasionally launched into dinosaur facts before remembering to ask his friends about what they liked. I stood back, my heart swelling with pride at his efforts. Just as the party was getting into full swing, I saw my parents walk through the door. My stomach tightened when I saw Audrey and James behind them. I had invited my parents, but I had specifically not invited Audrey. I knew her presence might make Noah anxious. But here she was, in designer jeans and a silk blouse that made my simple dress feel cheap. Surprise, my mother said, hugging me. We thought we would all come support Noah on his special day. And I wanted to check out how the community center handles events before our wedding, Audrey added. She had a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. James and I were concerned about consistency across their venues. James, at least, looked genuinely uncomfortable. He shook my hand and handed Noah a beautifully wrapped gift. Happy birthday, buddy. I heard you like dinosaurs, so I hope this is cool. Noah carefully took the gift. He placed it with the others. He thanked James with a small nod. It was his version of being polite when he felt overwhelmed. The party continued with dinosaur-themed games. We played Pin the Horn on the Triceratops. There was a fossil hunting game where kids dug up dinosaur toys from a sandbox. There was also a dinosaur trivia contest, where Noah beamed as he helped everyone with the answers. During all the activities, I noticed Audrey standing by herself. She was whispering to our mother, and occasionally rolling her eyes. When Noah excitedly explained the difference between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods to a parent who was actually interested, Audrey loudly whispered, "Does he ever talk about anything else?" I bit my tongue and focused on the party. The children were having fun. That was what was important. Then, the incident happened that set everything in motion. During the dinosaur freeze dance game, Noah was so caught up in his T-Rex impression that he bumped into a table. His juice cup tipped over. Purple grape juice spilled all over the floor. It splashed onto the edge of Audrey's white designer purse, which she had carelessly left on a low table. Time seemed to freeze along with the music. Noah stood paralyzed. His eyes were wide with horror at the spreading purple stain. "My Prada bag!" Audrey shrieked. She snatched it up and frantically dabbed it with napkins. This cost more than your entire party, Chloe. Noah's face crumpled. I'm sorry, Aunt Audrey. It was an accident. His voice was barely a whisper. His hands began to flap anxiously at his sides. Well, maybe if you could control your movements for 5 minutes, Audrey started. Her voice was as sharp as a razor. That's enough. I cut in, stepping between them. It was an accident, Audrey. He apologized. The other children had gone silent. Some looked uncomfortable. Others were just confused. Noah backed away from the scene until he reached the quiet corner I had set up. He sank down and pulled the headphones over his ears. It was a clear sign that he was having a sensory overload. I will buy you a new purse, I whispered furiously to Audrey. Just please. Not today. She huffed and stalked off to the bathroom with our mother. My father stood awkwardly by the snack table, pretending to be fascinated by the dinosaur-shaped cookies. I went to Noah. I knelt beside him in the quiet corner. You did nothing wrong, I told him. My voice was steady, even though I was furious. Accidents happen to everyone. Aunt Audrey hates me, he said. Tears were streaming down his cheeks. No. Honey, she just doesn't understand you, and that's her loss. I helped him regulate his breathing using techniques his therapist had taught us. After a few minutes, Noah felt ready to rejoin his friends. They had tactfully started playing again, under the guidance of another parent. I shot her a grateful look as Noah carefully went back to the game. I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. As the party went on, I saw that Audrey had come back from the bathroom. She was now talking quietly with James near the gift table. They kept looking over at Noah. Their expressions were a mix of disapproval and judgment. James seemed to be disagreeing with whatever Audrey was saying, but she was clearly winning the argument. Several parents had noticed the tension. I caught sympathetic looks and tight smiles. It made my cheeks burn with embarrassment. This was supposed to be Noah's special day, not a showcase of our family's problems. 3 o'clock came. It was time for cake. The children gathered excitedly at the main table. I went to the coordinator's office, where Linda had stored the cake in their refrigerator. But when I opened the refrigerator door, the cake was gone. Linda? I called out. I tried to keep the panic out of my voice. Did someone move the dinosaur cake? Linda looked confused. No, it should be right there. I haven't left the office, except to help with the pie data. We searched the small office kitchen. We looked on the counters, in the cabinets, even in the freezer. But the amazing Triceratops cake had vanished. My heart raced as I went back to the party room. 8-year-olds and their parents were now waiting for cake. There's a small delay with the cake? I announced with a forced smile. Just a few more minutes of games. Noah looked at me, confused. Is my dinosaur cake coming, Mom? He asked. His voice was rising with anxiety. He had been looking forward to the cake for weeks. Of course, sweetie. We just need to find it, I assured him. But a feeling of dread was growing in my stomach. My mother came up to me as I frantically searched the party room. Really, Chloe? It's just a cake. We could sing happy birthday without it. All this fuss is making Noah anxious. It's not just a cake, I hissed. It's his special dinosaur cake that he has been talking about for weeks. Someone must have moved it. My mother sighed. It was that familiar sigh that always made me feel like a disappointing child instead of a 32-year-old woman. Perhaps the bakery forgot to deliver it. I saw it arrive. Noah saw it. Linda saw it. My voice was rising, even though I was trying to stay calm. It was here, and now it's gone. Across the room, I saw Audrey whispering something to James. She had a smirk on her face. A terrible suspicion started to form in my mind. Noah was now visibly upset. He was pacing in small circles and repeating, "Where is my dinosaur cake? You promised a dinosaur cake." I know, buddy. We'll figure it out, I called to him. Then I turned to Linda. Is there anywhere else it could be? Any other refrigerators in the building? Linda shook her head. She looked genuinely concerned. Only in the main kitchen, but that's being used by another event. They wouldn't have taken your cake. A horrible thought struck me. I hurried outside to the back of the building where the dumpsters were. The cool spring air felt strange against my flushed skin. I walked up to the large metal container, praying I was wrong. I lifted the heavy lid, and there it was. The magnificent Triceratops cake, still in its box, was tossed on top of garbage bags. It was whole, but it had started to tilt in the heat. I carefully lifted the box. My hands were shaking with a mix of relief and fury. As I pulled it out, I smelled Audrey's distinctive perfume on the cardboard. It was the same scent that had trailed behind her when she walked past me after the purse incident. It had been Audrey. My own sister had thrown Noah's birthday cake in the trash. I stood there for a moment, the heavy cake box in my hands. I tried to process how cruel this was. This wasn't about a purse. This was about punishing an 8-year-old autistic child for being different. With careful movements, I carried the cake back inside. I fought to keep my composure. The box was slightly damaged, but miraculously, the cake inside was mostly okay. A few scales were smudged, but the Triceratops still looked amazing. As I walked back into the party room with the cake box, all eyes turned to me. Noah's face lit up. "You found my dinosaur?" Then he saw the look on my face, and his smile faded. I set the cake down on the table and took a deep breath. It was time for a confrontation I had been avoiding for far too long. The room fell silent as I carefully placed the dinosaur cake on the table. Several parents gasped when they saw the box was smudged with dirt and garbage. "I found the cake," I said. My voice was steady, but loud enough for everyone to hear. It was in the dumpster outside. Noah's friends looked confused. One little boy asked, "Why would someone throw away a cool dinosaur cake?" I looked directly at Audrey. She was suddenly very interested in her fingernails. "That's a great question. Audrey, would you like to explain why my son's birthday cake ended up in the trash?" Audrey's head snapped up. Her cheeks turned red. "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Really? Because your perfume is all over this box." I took a step toward her. "The same perfume you've been wearing all day." James looked at Audrey, confused. "Did you throw away the kid's cake?" "Of course not," she scoffed, but her eyes wouldn't meet his. My father stepped forward. "Chloe, you're making a scene. This is not the time or place." "When is the time, Dad?" "When Noah isn't around to hear how his aunt really feels about him. Should we pretend everything is fine, like we always do?" My voice was rising, even though I was trying to control it. The children were watching with wide eyes. Some parents had started to quietly gather their things. They were clearly uncomfortable with the family drama. Noah stood frozen beside his friend Tyler, his hands covering his ears. Audrey finally dropped her act. Her perfect posture got even stiffer. "Fine. Yes, I put the stupid cake in the trash. After he ruined my 2,000 purse with his carelessness. He didn't deserve a 200 cake." The room went so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. "He's 8 years old," I said, my voice breaking. "He had an accident." "He always has accidents," Audrey snapped. "He always gets special treatment because he's different. Do you know how sick I am of hearing about Noah's needs, Noah's therapy, Noah's special diet, Noah's sensitivity?" Each word was like a slap. Years of resentment were pouring out of her now. "Ever since he was born, it's been the Noah show. Mom and Dad may coddle you about it, but I'm done pretending. He needs to learn there are consequences in the real world." My mother finally spoke up, but not to defend Noah. "Chloe, perhaps we should discuss this later. The children don't need to hear this." "No, Mom. We've been silencing this conversation for years. And look where it has gotten us." I gestured around at the disaster the birthday party had become. Noah had started to cry silently. Fat tears rolled down his cheeks as he backed away from the fight. The sight of his pain ignited something fierce inside me. "You know what, Audrey? I have spent years making excuses for your behavior. I've told Noah that you just don't understand him, that you'll come around eventually. I've pretended your nasty comments were unintentional, but this," I pointed to the damaged cake box, "this was deliberate cruelty toward a child. My child." "Oh, please." Audrey rolled her eyes. "It's just a cake. You're being dramatic as usual." James looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Audrey, that was really not okay." But she turned on him. "Not you, too. You're the one who said his behavior was disruptive last Christmas." I said he seemed overwhelmed by the noise. "That's completely different from supporting you throwing away his birthday cake." James took a step back from her. I saw a flash of panic on Audrey's face. My father tried again to take control. "Everyone needs to calm down. We can get another cake. No, we'll be fine." He will not be fine, I said firmly. None of this is fine. Noah deserves better than to be treated like an inconvenience by his own family. Noah had retreated to his quiet corner again. He was rocking slightly with his hands over his ears. Tyler, his friend, had followed him. He was sitting quietly beside him in a show of support that brought tears to my eyes. Audrey let out a frustrated sigh. This is exactly what I mean. One little setback, and he falls apart. How is he ever going to function in the real world if everyone keeps treating him like he's made of glass? Something snapped inside me at those words. Function. My son is not a machine that needs to function according to your rules, Audrey. He is a human being with thoughts and feelings that are just as valid as yours. But not as normal as mine. She shot back. The gasp from the parents still in the room was audible. One mother quickly covered her daughter's ears. Did you really just say that? I asked. My voice was deadly quiet now. Did you just call my son abnormal at his own birthday party? Audrey must have realized she had crossed a line. She tried to backtrack. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant he has special needs that what? Make him less deserving of respect, of a celebration of a birthday cake. I was trembling now. Years of suppressed anger were boiling over. You know what? Audrey's voice had taken on a nasty edge. I think you use his condition as an excuse for everything. His behavior, your perpetual victimhood, your failed relationships. My parents both called out her name in warning, but she was on a roll now. Face it, Chloe. The reason you're still single is because no man wants to deal with a defective child. The word hung in the air like poison. Noah's soft voice broke the silence. Am I defective, Mom? And that was it. That was the moment everything changed. I walked over to Noah and knelt in front of him. I took his tear-stained face in my hands. No, baby. You are perfect exactly as you are. And we are leaving now. I stood up and spoke to the remaining party guests. I am so sorry, but the party is ending early. Please take some goodie bags and cake pops on your way out. Thank you for coming to celebrate Noah. Several parents came up to express their support. Others quietly led their children toward the exit. Tyler's mom gave me a firm hug and whispered, "Call me later." I packed up Noah's gifts while Linda helped him collect his favorite decorations. My family stood awkwardly by the door. My mother made one last attempt. "Chloe, don't do this. We can work this out." I didn't even look at her. "Not today, Mom. Maybe not ever." With Noah's hand firmly in mine, we walked past them without another word. We left behind not just a ruined party, but the illusion that my family would ever truly accept my son for who he was. The drive home was silent. I only heard Noah's occasional sniffles from the back seat. In the rear view mirror, I could see him clutching the Triceratops figure James had given him. He turned it over and over in his hands. It was a self-soothing technique he used when he was overwhelmed. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. Anger hurt, and a strange sense of freedom swirled inside me like a hurricane. For years, I had made excuses for my family's behavior toward Noah. For years, I had swallowed my comebacks and put on a smile to keep the peace. That was over, Mom. Noah's small voice broke through my thoughts. Yes, sweetheart. Is something wrong with me? His voice trembled. I immediately pulled the car into a shopping center parking lot and turned to face him. Noah Andrew Parker, listen to me very carefully. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Your brain works differently than some other people's brains. That makes you unique and special, not wrong. His lower lip quivered. That Aunt Audrey said I was defective. The word stabbed my heart again. Aunt Audrey was being incredibly unkind and completely wrong. Would you call a dolphin defective because it can't breathe on land? Or an eagle defective because it can't swim underwater? He thought about this. His analytical mind processed the comparison. No, because they are adapted differently. Exactly. Your mind is adapted differently. You notice details others miss. You remember facts that others forget. Your passion for dinosaurs has taught you research skills most kids your age don't have. I reached back and took his hand. Different is not defective, Noah. Different is just different. He squeezed my hand. I still wish I had gotten to eat my dinosaur cake. The simple statement made tears well up in my eyes. I know, buddy. I am so sorry about that. It's okay. We can still celebrate at home. His resilience amazed me. When we got home, I was determined to save what was left of his birthday. I found candles in the kitchen drawer and stuck them into the chocolate cupcakes I had bought as backup treats. We ordered pizza, built a blanket fort in the living room, and watched Noah's favorite documentary about the Mesozoic era. When he blew out his candles, I asked what he had wished for. "I can't tell you or it won't come true," he said seriously. Then, after a thoughtful pause, "But it wasn't for a new aunt." I couldn't help but laugh, and Noah grinned, pleased to have made a joke that landed well. It was a social skill he had been working hard to develop. As Noah played with his new dinosaur figures on the living room floor, my phone started lighting up with notifications. My parents had called 6 times, Audrey twice. I silenced the ringer. Then a text came through from Tyler's mom, Stephanie. "What happened today was unacceptable. Noah is a wonderful boy and all the kids in class adore him. Let me know if you need anything." It was followed by messages from 3 other parents expressing similar feelings. One had even attached a photo of her daughter, holding up a drawing she had made for Noah. It was a colorful triceratops, with the words, "Happy birthday, Noah," in wobbly letters across the top. I showed the picture to Noah, who beamed with pride. "Can we put it on the refrigerator?" "Absolutely." As I put the printed photo on our fridge, I realized something important. We had people in our lives who genuinely cared about us, who saw Noah for the amazing kid he was. We didn't need to cling to family members who couldn't or wouldn't do the same. Around 9:30, after Noah had fallen asleep on the couch surrounded by his new dinosaur collection, my phone rang again. This time it was my father. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Chloe?" he began, his voice unnaturally formal. "Your behavior today was inappropriate. Audrey is very upset." "Audrey is upset." I kept my voice low to avoid waking Noah. "She threw my son's birthday cake in the trash and called him defective." "But sure, let's worry about Audrey's feelings. You know how she is," he said. As if that explained everything. She has always been sensitive about attention being diverted from her, especially with the wedding coming up. She was just lashing out. "Do you even hear yourself? Dad, you're making excuses for a 30-year-old woman bullying an autistic child. That's not fair. Audrey has always been supportive." I cut him off. When she complained about Noah's weird behaviors. At Thanksgiving. When she suggested I send him to a special school so he wouldn't embarrass the family. When she threw his birthday cake in the garbage. There was a long pause. "Your mother, and I think you all need to work this out before the wedding next weekend. Family harmony is important." "No, Dad. Noah's well-being is important. And right now, being around Audrey is harmful to him. I will not be attending the wedding." He made a strangled sound. "But you have to come. You're supposed to be a bridesmaid. I'm supposed to be a mother first. Audrey made her choice today. I'm making mine. This will break your mother's heart," he said. His final manipulation attempt. Noah's heart was broken today when he heard his aunt call him defective. "Somehow, I think Mom will survive." I ended the call before he could respond. I sat in the dim light of our living room, watching Noah sleep peacefully, his chest rising and falling with each breath. For the first time in years, I felt like I had truly stood up for him the way he deserved. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Audrey is willing to apologize if you will just be reasonable. Call me tomorrow." I didn't respond. Instead, I carefully lifted Noah and carried him to his bed, tucking his favorite dinosaur plush under his arm. As I kissed his forehead, I whispered a promise. "I will always choose you." Then I went to my own bed and, despite the emotional exhaustion of the day, found myself unable to sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying the confrontation and wondering what the fallout would be. Part of me felt guilty for potentially ruining Audrey's wedding by withdrawing from the bridal party. Another part, the stronger part, knew I had finally drawn a necessary boundary. Eventually, I drifted off into a fitful sleep, dreaming of dinosaur cakes and dumpsters and family photos where Noah's and my faces had been cut out. The sharp ring of my phone woke me at 7:15 the next morning. Groggy? I fumbled for it on my nightstand. I was expecting another demanding call from my parents. Instead, my mother's name was on the screen. But her voice, when I answered, was not the controlled, passive-aggressive tone I expected. She was crying. Chloe, you have to help us, she sobbed. The venue is threatening to cancel Audrey's wedding. I sat up straight in bed, suddenly wide awake. What? Why? Linda, the coordinator you were working with yesterday, she called Audrey this morning. She said she witnessed reprehensible behavior toward a child with special needs. She said that the venue has a strict anti-bullying policy. My mother's voice broke again. She said they are reviewing whether to honor their contract for the wedding next Saturday. A complex mix of feelings washed over me. It was a mixture of vindication and guilt that made my stomach clench. Please. My mother continued, her voice desperate. Please talk to the venue. Tell them it was just a family misunderstanding. Audrey has been planning this wedding for a year. Everything is paid for. Her dress was custom, made to match the Pinewood Gardens roses. James's family is flying in from Europe. I closed my eyes. I remembered Noah's face when he asked if he was defective. Mom, what Audrey did wasn't just rude. It was cruel. I know, she sniffed loudly. She was wrong. Completely wrong. But please, Chloe, she is still your sister. And Noah is still her nephew. That didn't seem to matter to her yesterday. There was a long pause. Audrey has always struggled with change. You know that. First, it was Noah getting so much attention when he was born, and then his diagnosis. And now, with her wedding, she just lashes out when she feels threatened. I almost laughed at the irony. Are you saying Audrey has sensory processing and social interaction challenges when under stress? Because that sounds familiar. My mother didn't respond to that. Instead, she played her final card. Noah would be heartbroken if he knew he was the reason for such family problems. That was a low blow. She was using Noah's compassionate nature against me. Before I could respond, my call waiting beeped. It was an unknown number. I need to take this, Mom. I'll call you back. I switched to the new call. Hello, Chloe? This is James, Audrey's fiancé. His voice sounded strained. James, I said, genuinely surprised. We had never spoken outside of family gatherings. I'm calling about what happened yesterday. I want you to know I had no idea Audrey threw away Noah's cake. I would never have approved of that. Thank you for saying that. I replied cautiously. I wasn't sure where this was going. He sighed heavily. I have always thought Noah was a great kid, smart as a whip. The way Audrey spoke about him yesterday, it showed me a side of her I hadn't seen before. I remained silent, letting him continue. I come from a large family, and my youngest brother has ADHD. My parents always made sure he was included and supported. What I saw yesterday went against everything I believe about how families should treat each other. I appreciate that, James. Truly, I'm calling because... He paused, seeming to gather his courage. I am considering postponing the wedding, venue issues aside. I need to make sure Audrey and I are on the same page about some fundamental values before we get married. This stunned me. James? I don't want to come between. You're not, he interrupted firmly. This is about what I witnessed, and what it revealed, but I would like to understand more about Noah's needs, and how Audrey's attitude has affected him over the years. Would you be willing to meet and talk? By this point, Noah had wandered into my room, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He climbed onto the bed beside me, leaning against my shoulder. Yes, I told James. I think that would be good, but right now, I need to make breakfast for the birthday boy. After ending the call, I gave Noah an extra tight hug. Good morning, 8-year-old. What would you like for breakfast? Dinosaur pancakes, he declared, seemingly recovered from yesterday's trauma. While Noah ate his triceratops-shaped pancakes, I got another call. This time it was from Linda at the venue. Chloe, I hope you don't mind me calling. The management team asked me to reach out about yesterday's incident. I stepped into the living room to speak privately. I heard you are reconsidering hosting my sister's wedding. Yes. Pinewood Gardens was founded by a woman whose son had Down syndrome. We have a very clear policy about discriminatory behavior on our property. What your sister did violated that policy. I sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted despite just waking up. Linda, can I ask why you called me about this? Shouldn't you be discussing this with Audrey? We have already spoken with her. She was not receptive. Linda paused. She suggested we speak with you, as you might be more reasonable. Of course, she had. Audrey was expecting me to fix her problem, Just like our parents were. The thing is, Linda continued, her voice softening, I have a son on the autism spectrum, too. He's 17 now, but I remember those birthday parties, those family gatherings where relatives just didn't get it. She took a breath. That's why I wanted to call you directly. This isn't just business for me. Something in her voice, the understanding, the shared experience, brought tears to my eyes. I don't want to ruin my sister's wedding, I admitted. Despite everything, I don't want that. I understand, but we need to know she understands why her behavior was unacceptable. An idea started to form in my mind. Linda, what if Audrey met with you, and perhaps a specialist who works with children on the spectrum? Not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to learn. There was a thoughtful pause on the other end. We could arrange that. We work with a wonderful child psychologist who helps with our inclusive events program. If Audrey genuinely participates in that meeting, would Pinewood consider honoring the wedding contract? I would certainly recommend it to management, Linda said. This is not about punishment. It's about creating understanding. After hanging up, I called my mother back and explained the potential solution. She was tearfully grateful, promising that Audrey would cooperate. I had my doubts but kept them to myself. Next, I texted James to fill him in on the development. His response was immediate. I think this is an excellent idea. I would like to attend this meeting too if that is all right. The final call I needed to make was the hardest. I took a deep breath and dialed Audrey's number. She answered on the first ring. Have you fixed it? No greeting, no apology. Hello to you too, Audrey. I don't have time for pleasantries, Chloe. My entire wedding is about to be ruined because you had to make a scene. I bit back a retort. I have spoken with Linda. There is a way forward, but you need to meet with her and a child psychologist who specializes in autism. A shrink. Are you kidding me? Her voice rose an octave. It's that or find a new venue in 7 days. I kept my tone even. There was a long silence, then, fine. Whatever it takes. Audrey, this is not just about checking a box to save your wedding. You really hurt Noah yesterday. Oh my God. Are you still on about the cake? I'll buy him 10 cakes if that will make you happy. I closed my eyes, counted to 5. This is not about the cake. It's about your attitude toward Noah, toward neurodiversity, in general. If you go into this meeting just planning to say whatever they want to hear, it will be obvious. What do you want from me, Chloe? A tearful confession? A public apology? What will satisfy you? There was something beneath the anger in her voice, a vulnerability I rarely heard. I want you to try to understand. Really understand. Noah's going to be your nephew for the rest of your life. I want you to see him, really see him for the amazing person he is. The line went quiet for so long, I thought she might have hung up. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely audible. What if I can't do that? What if I just don't know how? It was the most honest thing she had said to me in years. Then this meeting is exactly what you need. I replied softly. Just be willing to listen. That's all I'm asking. 2 days later, the meeting was arranged at Pinewood Gardens. I decided not to attend. I wanted Audrey to speak freely without feeling like I was monitoring her. James went in my place, texting me updates throughout. Dr. Winters is amazing. She's showing videos of how autistic children experience the world differently. And later, Audrey is actually asking questions, good ones. The final text surprised me most. She cried when they talked about how words like defective affect children's self-esteem. Real tears, not the ones she uses to get Dad to buy her things. That evening, James called to fill me in completely. The meeting had lasted 3 hours. Linda had shared stories about her son. Dr. Winters had explained the neuroscience of autism in terms Audrey, with her analytical mind, could understand. And most surprisingly, Audrey had opened up about her own childhood insecurities. She talked about feeling overlooked when you needed extra help as a single mom. James told me. She said she knew it was irrational to be jealous of the attention Noah received. But she never learned how to process those feelings appropriately. That actually makes sense. I admitted, remembering how our parents had always pushed Audrey to be perfect while giving me more leeway as the creative one. No wonder she resented the additional accommodations Noah received. The venue has agreed to honor our contract, James continued. contingent on Audrey writing a letter of apology to Noah and making a donation to the autism support program they run. Will she do it? She already started the letter in the meeting, he said, sounding proud. Chloe, I think this might have been a breakthrough, not just for the wedding, but for your family. I wasn't quite ready to believe in miracles, but I allowed myself to hope. 1 week after the disastrous birthday party, I sat with Noah at our kitchen table. A sealed envelope was between us. It had arrived by courier that morning, a handwritten letter from Audrey. Your aunt wrote you a letter, I explained. Would you like me to read it to you, or would you prefer to read it yourself? Noah considered the question seriously. You read it first, then I will read it, he decided. It was a cautious approach that broke my heart a little. He had become wary of anything connected to Audrey. I opened the envelope and began reading. Dear Noah, I owe you an apology for my behavior at your birthday party. Throwing away your dinosaur cake was wrong and mean. Saying hurtful things about you is even worse. There is nothing defective about you. You are exactly who you are supposed to be. Dr. Winters helped me understand more about how your brain works. I learned that what I thought was you ignoring social rules is actually your brain processing things differently. I learned that your dinosaur knowledge is not just a quirk but a reflection of how deeply you can focus on subjects you love. I have not been a good aunt to you. I made your differences about me, which was selfish. I am working to change that. If you are willing, I would like to have a do-over birthday celebration for you. The baker has agreed to make another Triceratops cake. Even better than the first one. But I will understand if you don't want to be around me right now. Either way, I have made a donation in your name to a program that helps kids with autism join sports teams and art classes with support. I thought you might like to know that your name will help other kids have more fun. I hope someday you can forgive me. Love, Aunt Audrey. I looked up to find Noah watching me intently. What do you think that means? He asked, his analytical mind trying to process this unexpected development. I think it means Aunt Audrey is learning and trying to do better, I said carefully. People can change when they learn new information. Noah took the letter and read it himself, his finger tracing under each word. When he finished, he looked up at me. Is this a genuine apology or a formulated apology? I smiled at his precise vocabulary. What do you think? The specific details suggest genuine remorse, he concluded. Formulated apologies use vague terms like, if I hurt you, rather than acknowledging specific actions. That is a very astute observation. He folded the letter neatly and placed it back in the envelope. I would like another dinosaur cake, he decided. But I need to think about seeing Aunt Audrey. That is completely fair, I assured him. You take all the time you need. The next day, I received a call from my mother. Her tone was different than I had ever heard before, humbled. Chloe, I need to apologize to you as well. I have not been supportive enough of you and Noah. I was so focused on keeping the peace that I allowed Audrey's behavior to continue unchecked for years. I sat down, genuinely stunned. Thank you for saying that. Mom. Your father and I have been talking. We want to learn more about Noah's needs. Would you be willing to recommend some books or resources for us? By the time Saturday rolled around, the day of Audrey's wedding, Noah had decided he was willing to see his aunt again. We had agreed to attend only the ceremony, skipping the reception where the noise and social demands might be too much for him. As we walked into Pinewood Gardens, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Linda greeted us warmly, showing Noah the special quiet room they had set up adjacent to the ceremony space in case he needed a break. That is so thoughtful, I said, touched by the consideration. It was Audrey's idea, Linda replied with a meaningful look. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. Audrey had apparently scaled back some of the more extravagant elements in favor of a more intimate gathering. When she walked down the aisle, she paused briefly beside our row, reaching out to gently squeeze Noah's hand. He didn't pull away. During the vows, James included a line that made me tear up some. I promise to build a home with you, where everyone feels valued and understood for exactly who they are. The look that passed between him and Audrey told me those words held special significance for them now. After the ceremony, we were preparing to leave when Audrey approached, still in her wedding gown. Could I talk to Noah for a moment? She asked me. I looked at Noah, who nodded his consent. Audrey knelt down to be at his eye level, something she had never done before. Thank you for coming today, Noah. It means a lot to me. Your dress has exactly 76 pearls on the bodice, he observed. I counted. Instead of looking uncomfortable as she might have in the past, Audrey smiled genuinely. That is amazing. I had no idea. The designer said there were about 70, but you know the exact number. 76? He confirmed. James and I would like to invite you to a very special dinosaur exhibit next month, she said. It's an interactive one where you can excavate fossils. Would that be something you might enjoy? Noah's eyes widened. The new exhibit at the Natural History Museum? With the life-sized Spinosaurus model? That's the one. They have special early access hours for children who prefer a quieter environment. I thought that might be better for you. I watched this exchange with growing amazement. Audrey was not just making empty gestures. She had done research, made specific plans that took Noah's needs into account. I would like that, Noah said. Then he added, I forgive you for the cake. Audrey's composure cracked slightly, her eyes welling with tears. Thank you, Noah. That means more than you know. As we drove home, Noah was unusually quiet, processing the events of the day. Finally, he said, people can change their behaviors when they learn new information. Yes, they can. I agreed. Like how the scientists changed their drawings of dinosaurs when they learned about feathers. He continued, connecting this new understanding to his special interest. Exactly like that. I smiled. Over the following months, our family dynamic shifted in ways I never thought possible. My parents began attending educational sessions about autism. Audrey and James invited us over for dinner regularly, with Audrey always making sure to include dinosaur-shaped foods and keeping the music volume low. Noah's 9th birthday was approaching, and this time, when I asked what kind of party he wanted, his answer surprised me. A small party at home. With Aunt Audrey and Uncle James, and Grandma and Grandpa, he said. And Tyler from school. And a dinosaur cake that nobody throws away. I laughed. I think we can manage that. The party was everything his previous one should have been. Audrey arrived early to help set up, bringing dinosaur-themed science kits as her gift. My parents engaged Noah in conversation about his latest dinosaur discoveries. James had arranged for a paleontologist friend to video call and answer Noah's questions. When the perfectly intact Triceratops cake was served, Audrey was the one who asked Noah to explain the difference between the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods to everyone, genuinely interested in his explanation. Later, as the party wound down, I found myself alone with Audrey on the back porch. Thank you, I said simply. For what? For making the effort. For actually changing, not just pretending to. She looked out at the yard, where Noah was showing Tyler his new fossil kit. I should be thanking you. That meeting with Dr. Winters, it changed everything for me. Not just how I see Noah, but how I see myself. What do you mean? She turned to face me. Remember how I always had those meltdowns before big tests in school? Or how I reorganize my entire closet when I'm stressed? Dr. Winters said those are actually sensory regulation techniques. Apparently, I have some sensory processing issues myself. Nothing like Noah's, but enough that I should have been more understanding. Really? I was genuinely surprised. Really. James thinks it makes sense. He says it explains why I need everything to be so perfectly controlled. She smiled ruefully. The irony is not lost on me that I've been judging Noah for things I do myself in milder ways. We watched as Noah carefully arranged his new dinosaur figures in evolutionary order on the patio table. He's an amazing kid, Audrey said softly. I'm sorry it took me so long to see that. Better late than never, I replied, meaning it. That night, after everyone had gone home, and Noah was in bed, I reflected on the journey we had taken since that terrible day, when I found his cake in the trash. What had seemed like the end of our family relationship had instead become the painful beginning of something healthier. I joined the online support group for parents of children with autism that Linda had recommended. Through it, I connected with dozens of other mothers and fathers navigating similar challenges. Their stories of advocacy inspired me to become more involved in local autism awareness initiatives. Noah continued to thrive in school, his confidence growing as he learned to embrace his differences rather than hide them. Tyler remained a steadfast friend, and 2 other children from his class had begun joining them for study sessions focused on dinosaurs and science. As for my relationship with Audrey, we would never be best friends, but we had found a new respect for each other. Our different approaches to life, my adaptability and her structure, complemented rather than conflicted when we learned to communicate better. The day I found Noah's cake in the trash had been one of the worst days of my life. But standing up for my son that day had set in motion changes that made our lives immeasurably better. Sometimes it takes a moment of crisis to find the courage to break unhealthy patterns. If you have ever had to make a difficult stand to protect someone you love, share your story in the comments. How did you find the strength to speak up? Did it change your relationships for the better or worse? Remember to like and subscribe if this story resonated with you. And know that choosing to protect the vulnerable people in your life is always the right decision, even when it feels impossibly hard. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep standing tall for the ones you love.